The FA Cup, the oldest football tournament in the world, played at Wembley, the theatre of dreams. Over a century and a half of history, that's more than a league championship. The giant killing of small clubs beating the big, sleeping giants ending decades-long trophy droughts, clubs and fans experiencing newfound glory, and everyone enjoying the victory parades in towns and city centres. It may be the big clubs that lift the trophy in the end, but more than any other national cup, it's the participation of the small that makes this tournament so special. It starts in August, right at the bottom of the football pyramid, with clubs that have a good day when they get an attendance in three figures. So, it's the middle of August. The football season has finally started. Summer's almost over, so all the fun's about to begin. And today, I'm kicking my season off with a bit of an interesting match. I'm right here at the John Jenkins Stadium in Portsmouth, home of Moneyfields FC, the old civil service football club. And it's the FA Cup preliminary round, the beginning of the world's oldest football tournament, the FA Cup. Today Moneyfields have been drawn against AFC Porchester, so there's a bit of a local rivalry going on. Obviously Moneyfields are in Portsmouth, Porchester are just down the road in Fareham Borough, although they probably wouldn't like to be called Fareham. So there's a bit of a local derby going on, and so we're going to see, this is, as I say, this is the preliminary round of the FA Cup. This is the very beginning. So this is where all the glory begins, when you see the final in at Wembley with Palace and Man City and the like. This is where it all begins, and this is why the FA Cup is so unique around the world, because there really isn't another cup competition like this where clubs of this size, this far down, actually playing the same competition as clubs like Manchester United and Manchester City. And that's why it's so special. So while these clubs are highly unlikely to get to the actual first round, probably the third round where the big boys play, they're going to get as far as they can go. So let's see who comes out of it on top today. Well, firstly, it wasn't the start of the FA Cup. That had already happened 2 weeks before with the extra preliminary round. Moneyfields in yellow had beaten Brockenhurst 2-1 at home. AFC Porcher in sky blue had beaten Melksham 3-1 at home in a replay after a 2-2 draw away. So why is the FA Cup so special? Well, it was originally set up as a challenge cup for all members of the Football Association. But since there are hundreds of thousands now, it's limited to clubs playing in the top 9 levels of the English League system. That's 745 clubs, roughly. These two are in level 8, playing in the Isthmian League Division 1 South Central. In 2024-25, the league had an average attendance of 271, with Moneyfields on 150. Porchy averaged 485, playing one level down in the Wessex League, which averaged 146. There's no other football competition where clubs as small as this and as far down the levels as this have a chance, however slim, of playing the big guns in the top division. Other competitions get close, like the Scottish Cup, the French Cup, and even the Rugby League Challenge Cup, but not nearly to the same extent. This is why these matches still matter to these clubs. The reality is that teams playing in these initial rounds have next to no chance of making it to the third round, where Championship and Premier League teams join. But there's always a chance, a very slim, hanging by a thread chance. Even at this level, the local rivalry is pretty obvious, but it seems that Porchester have the more vocal and dedicated following. Both teams are relatively new. Porchester were formed in 1971 and Moneyfields in 1987. Moneyfields' best performance was reaching the third qualifying round in 2018-19, while Porchester have reached the second qualifying round 4 times, most recently in 2017-2018. In this match, Porchester dominated in the first half, but it was the home team who drew first blood a few minutes before the whistle. Porchester fought back and got very close to levelling, but keeper heroics kept the score at 1-0 when they headed indoors at half-time at the whistle. This may be a dead rubber in how likely these teams would experience lifting in historic silverware, but there's still plenty at stake. Teams split the gate receipts equally, 45% each, with the remainder 10% going to the FA for administrative costs. So getting to the next round could see teams like these drawing a much bigger opponent away and raking in much more money than they could ever hope to earn in their normal league campaign. Sometimes, depending on the round and the opponent, the receipt share can represent months or even an entire season's worth of revenue. And Portugal managed to level the match with a Gerrard-esque strike from outside the box that I would have captured had I been paying attention properly. In fact, it didn't feel like the Moneys were playing with home field advantage, probably because their home fans were pretty quiet compared to the small orange-clad contingent from the north side of Portsmouth Harbour. No one comes to these matches looking for world-class quality football. They come for the competitiveness, they come to support their community, they come for their family and their mates, they come for the fun of it. Portsmouth had their first home game of the season earlier against Norwich, and there were a couple of Canaries fans at the match too. And once again, my diligence failed me, and I missed Portugal burying the ball in the back of the net to take a much-deserved 2-1 lead, pleasing their travelling contingent who had moved ends at half-time. Moneyfields pressed in the final minutes, but their urgency didn't convert into any real chances, and the Portugal goal wasn't really threatened that much. At the final whistle, Portugal won 2-1, and they were rewarded with another away tie in their first qualifying round against Gloucester City, who played one level higher in the Southern League Premier Division South. That match ended 1-1, with the replay due in a couple of days from the publishing of this video. So, fingers crossed for Portugal.